Welcome to our channel. We're so glad you're here to join us for today's incredible story. Get ready to witness a journey of love, sacrifice, and unexpected twists that will leave you inspired. But before we dive in, we'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment below and let us know. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss tomorrow's special story. Trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Let's get started and enjoy this unforgettable tale together. A widow took in an abandoned baby, how it changed their lives forever. Lily Johnson had lived in the same small cottage for over 30 years. A widow since her late husband passed, she relied on a modest pension to make ends meet. Despite the hardships that came with living alone and struggling to make ends meet, Lily remained optimistic and kind. She would often bake bread for her neighbors and spend afternoons tending to her garden, finding comfort in the small joys of life. One frosty winter night, as Lily was preparing for bed, she heard the faintest sound, a soft cry that seemed to come from outside her door. Curious, she opened the door, only to be stunned by what she saw. On her porch lay a small infant wrapped in a thin blanket, shivering from the cold. The baby's pale face and trembling body were a heartbreaking sight. Lily's breath caught in her throat. "Oh my," she whispered, her hands flying to her mouth. The baby's lips were blue, and the cold had clearly taken its toll. Without hesitation, she gathered her courage, scooped the fragile child into her arms, and carried him inside. Lily settled the baby by the fire, the warmth from the hearth filling the small room. She quickly prepared a bottle of milk and fed him, watching as his trembling subsided and his cries slowly faded into silence. As Lily gazed down at the tiny baby in her arms, a surge of protectiveness and love washed over her. "Who could have done this?" she whispered, stroking his cheek softly. Her heart ached for the helpless infant who had been left to die in the cold. She didn't know why he was abandoned, but in that moment, she knew she couldn't turn him away. "You must have been sent to me by heaven," she murmured, gently rocking him. "I will take care of you. You will be mine." That night, Lily named the child Ethan, and as she tucked him into a makeshift cradle, her heart swelled with a sense of purpose. Despite her limited means, Lily was determined to raise him as her own, no matter the sacrifices she would have to make. She knew life would be harder, but she couldn't ignore the pull of motherhood that had settled in her heart. And so, a new chapter in both their lives began. The next morning, Lily awoke earlier than usual, her heart still racing from the events of the night before. She walked into the small room where Ethan slept soundly in the makeshift cradle she had fashioned from an old wooden crate, lined with soft blankets. The sight of him, so peaceful and fragile, stirred something deep within her. She couldn't help but smile, but a feeling of anxiety crept over her as well. Raising a child was going to be incredibly difficult, especially with her limited income. How could she, at her age, provide for a child with so little? But as the days went by, Lily found strength she didn't know she had. She reached out to her neighbors for help, and to her surprise, they all offered their support. Miss Graham, who lived down the road, gave her outgrown clothes that had belonged to her grandchildren. Mr. Thompson, the baker, promised to set aside leftover bread for her, and others contributed what they could. Slowly but surely, Lily gathered the essentials for Ethan's care. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Lily cut back on her own needs. She ate less, wore patched clothes, and spent evenings by the fire, making sure Ethan had enough to eat. Every penny was spent carefully. Every decision weighed with the knowledge that raising him would only get harder. But despite the struggle, she never complained. Each time Ethan smiled or giggled, Lily's heart swelled with joy. And the sacrifices she made seemed like nothing in comparison to the love she felt for him. The long nights, the worry over where the next meal might come from, and the constant tightening of her belt, none of it mattered when she saw Ethan's face light up. Whenever she heard him laugh or saw his eyes sparkle with happiness, Lily whispered softly to him, "Every sacrifice for you is my miracle." And in those moments, her worries melted away. Ethan had become her reason to keep going, and with him by her side, she felt as though anything was possible. Through all the challenges, Lily's bond with Ethan grew stronger. Their home, though small, was filled with warmth and love. Despite their hardship, there was always a sense of peace between them. Life wasn't easy, But together, they were making it work, one day at a time. And as long as they had each other, Lily knew they could face whatever came next. As the months passed, Ethan grew into a healthy, happy child. He became Lily's little companion, following her everywhere, helping her in the garden, and waving to the neighbors who came to visit. The small village adored him, and they admired Lily's unwavering devotion to him. Despite the financial hardships, their home was always filled with warmth and laughter. But it wasn't just Lily who saw Ethan's kindness. He, too, had a heart that radiated compassion. One afternoon, while playing outside, Ethan found a wounded bird on the ground. Its wing was injured, and it looked as though it couldn't even lift itself to fly. Without a moment's hesitation, Ethan scooped up the bird gently in his hands and ran to Lily. "Mama, can we help her?" he asked, his big eyes full of concern. Lily's heart swelled with pride at Ethan's care and empathy. She smiled and nodded. "Of course, dear. Let's take care of her together." They carefully made a small bed for the bird in a box, placing soft fabric inside. Every day, Ethan would check on it, gently feeding it, making sure it was warm and comfortable. Slowly but surely, the bird began to recover. Over the next few weeks, the bond between Ethan and the bird grew stronger. His excitement each time he saw the bird flutter its wings, gaining strength, filled Lily with hope. The day they finally released the bird back into the wild was a moment neither of them would forget. As they opened the box and watched the bird take flight, Ethan clapped his hands joyfully. "We saved her, Mama," he said proudly. Lily chuckled and pulled him close. "No, dear, we saved her together," she corrected him gently. "Kindness is always best when shared." This small act was just one example of how Ethan's heart continued to grow with the love and compassion Lily had instilled in him. As he grew older, Lily made sure to teach him not just how to survive, but how to live with love, humility, and gratitude. She knew that while they didn't have much in terms of material wealth, they had something far more valuable: each other, and a sense of kindness that would last a lifetime. Ethan was learning that love and compassion could change the world, one small act at a time. And with each passing day, Lily's belief that her sacrifices for him were worth every ounce of struggle became even stronger. Together, they were building something far richer than any material possession: an unbreakable bond, a life filled with warmth, and a future full of promise. As Ethan grew older, his curiosity about the world around him intensified. He excelled at school, constantly surprising his teachers with his thirst for knowledge. But despite his growing success, something lingered in his heart, an unanswered question about his origins. For years, he had known only the love of Lily, who had raised him as her own. But he couldn't help but wonder about the life he had before that cold winter night when she had found him on her doorstep. One evening, as they sat together on the porch watching the sunset, Ethan's curiosity got the best of him. He turned to Lily, his eyes filled with a mix of uncertainty and hope. "Mama, why don't I look like you?" he asked softly. Lily hesitated, a pang of sorrow tugging at her heart. She knew this question would come eventually, but she had never been prepared for it. After a moment of silence, she smiled gently and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Because you came to me as a gift," she said, her voice tender. "I found you on my doorstep when you were just a baby. That doesn't change the fact that you are my son in every way that matters." Ethan, though still curious, seemed satisfied with her answer. He stopped asking about his past and instead focused on making her proud. The bond they shared had always been more than just blood. It was built on love, trust, and the sacrifices Lily had made for him. Ethan worked hard, taking on part-time jobs to help with the household expenses, and every time he handed Lily his small earnings, he could see how much it meant to her. When Ethan was 12, he surprised Lily one Christmas by giving her a hand-knitted scarf he had made during his free time. Tears welled up in Lily's eyes as she hugged him tightly. "It's perfect, darling." "Thank you," she whispered, overwhelmed by his thoughtfulness. Despite the challenges they faced, their bond only grew stronger. Ethan admired Lily's resilience and selflessness, and he vowed to repay her someday. He often dreamed of doing something extraordinary with his life, not just for himself, but for her as well. As he finished school, his ambitions only grew. He wanted to make something of himself, to show Lily that her sacrifices hadn't been in vain. Little did he know, His journey would take him far beyond what either of them could have ever imagined. Years passed, and Ethan's hard work began to pay off. His dedication to his studies, his perseverance through every challenge, and his relentless pursuit of knowledge earned him respect and admiration from teachers, peers, and even the townspeople who had watched him grow. As he neared the end of high school, Ethan knew that he was ready to make his next big step. He applied to college, encouraged by his teachers, who believed in his potential. Despite the financial strain it would put on him, Ethan was determined to attend, and Lily, though anxious about him leaving, supported his dreams wholeheartedly. One evening, as they sat together filling out his college applications, Lily looked at Ethan with tears in her eyes. "I'm so proud of you," she said, her voice shaky with emotion. "You have a brilliant future ahead of you." Ethan smiled, but a wave of sadness hit him. "What will you do without me?" he asked, his voice soft and concerned. Lily's eyes twinkled as she gave him a reassuring wink. "I'll manage," she replied, her voice full of warmth and love, "but I'll always wait for your letters and calls." With a mixture of excitement and sadness, Ethan left for college. He worked multiple part-time jobs to support himself, covering tuition and living expenses. Though the city was far from the small village where he had grown up, Ethan carried the lessons Lily had taught him every day: hard work, kindness, humility, and gratitude. But his drive didn't stop there. He found his passion in innovation, developing an app in his final year that optimized supply chain logistics. The project caught the attention of investors, and before long, Ethan found himself at the helm of his own startup. His success came quickly. What started as a small idea turned into a thriving company, one that brought Ethan wealth and opportunities far beyond anything he had imagined. Yet, despite his newfound wealth, Ethan remained humble. He never forgot the values that had shaped him, values that Lily had instilled in him. Though he rarely mentioned his financial success to her, he made sure to surprise her from time to time with small gifts: new kitchenware, a warm coat, explaining that he had found a good deal. However, there was something Ethan kept hidden from Lily. After years of wondering about his origins, he hired a private investigator to search for his biological parents. What he uncovered stunned him. His father, Mark Whitmore, was a wealthy businessman who had abandoned him as a baby. Hurt by the revelation, but not driven by anger, Ethan sought to meet his father, not for revenge, but for understanding. Their reunion was emotional, and Mark, with tears in his eyes, expressed his deep regret. He confessed that his decision to leave Ethan had haunted him for years, and learning about Lily's sacrifices moved him profoundly. Ethan knew it was now time to repay Lily for everything she had done for him, and he knew exactly how to honor the woman who had saved his life. Together with Mark, Ethan planned a tribute that would change everything for her. We hope today's story has touched your heart the way it touched ours. Ethan's journey of love, sacrifice, and unexpected twists is a beautiful reminder of how kindness can change lives. From the moment Lily opened her door to the abandoned infant, she unknowingly set off a chain of events that would shape not only Ethan's future, but also hers. It's amazing to think that a single act of compassion could ripple through the years, creating something so extraordinary. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think of this story? Have you ever experienced an act of kindness that changed the course of your life? Or perhaps you've been in a position where you had to make a sacrifice for someone you love. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your stories inspire us, and we believe sharing them can bring us all closer together. Also, let us know where you're watching from. It's always wonderful to see how these stories connect people from all over the world. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next special story. Thank you for being part of this journey with us. We can't wait to bring you more inspiring tales.